everybody, this is the Wikstrand. So Christopher Esslin and Kendall Vecchio, who are, you know, the main two guys behind this movie, must have had some kind of a connection with, you know, the shooting before The Dark Knight Rises. It cannot be a coincidence. I refuse to believe that that is the case, because, you know, either they, you know, knew somebody who was there, or they knew one of the victims, or they were going to go themselves but didn't go, or something like that. They must have, you know, had some kind of anxiety with this thing. That's why they made this movie, to maybe, you know, process the whole damn thing as, you know, a part of facing your fears, or, you know, coping with this thing. That does not excuse the fact that this is one of the worst horror movies I have ever seen in my entire life. This is so horrendously bad that this is a warning. Do not, under any circumstances, see this movie. Whatever you're thinking that you're going to get, you ain't gonna get it. I had to watch this movie twice to get my thoughts together with this thing. This is going to be a rough ride. This movie is only 70 minutes long, but it feels like Lawrence of Arabia in length. Jesus Christ, this movie. Anyway, let's find out what this movie is about, shall we? And why it is so bad. And by the way, what's the title of this movie? I've seen 3 different titles: Joker's Poltergeist, Joker's Wild, and Joker's Apocalypse. Well, it's not a jolly Joker, that's for damn sure. Let's find out how awful this movie is actually. This is Joker's Wild / Poltergeist / Apocalypse. Here we go. One year ago, Aurora was going to show a scary movie on the beautiful movie theater that she owns together with her father, and, you know, everybody's very excited about it. Is it their movie, or, you know, some special movie that we never get to see? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Everybody is, you know, geared up for the occasion, you know, wearing different forms of, you know, murder clown outfits, and for some reason Aurora decided to cosplay as Roddy Piper from WrestleMania 6 in his ill-fated match with Bad News Brown, but that is a story for another time. Anyway, so the festivities is, however, cut short when one of the clowns starts shooting people, and lots of people dies. But the day is saved by William, who, you know, shoots the perpetrator, but not before killing Aurora's father. And it turns out it was James Jennings. Who the fuck is James Jennings? It's Eric Roberts, but we'll get to him in a second. So 1 year has passed since then, and she is going to try to, you know, face her fears, and she's going to open up the theater again to, you know, show movies, and she's going to spend the night there with her support group. She's also going to take part in this debate, you know, against the mayor and his delusional looking wife, because they want to tear down the building because of the shootout. What? They're mad at the building for somebody shot it up? Is that a common thing in America, to think that if a school is, you know, shot up, or a department store or a bar or something like that, then you should just tear down the whole damn thing? This is so stupid. By the way, try to listen to that debate without visualizing shoving several, you know, pens into your ears so you don't get to hear these slack-jawed, empty-headed dumb fucks try to have a debate, because it was brutal. She is also having, you know, post-traumatic stress syndrome, and she's seeing these murder clowns in her dreams, and she has nightmares still. But William is there to, you know, comfort her and stuff like that. Oh, isn't that nice? Anyway, so they go to the movie theater, and everything seems to go according to plan, except it does not, because maybe the old spirit of James is still, you know, hanging around somehow in the theater, because people seem to be, you know, getting killed by the different murder clowns who shows up out of nowhere and stuff like that. But is that really what is happening? Because people who die seem to, you know, mysteriously come back later without anything happening. Clowns just disappear out of thin air for some reason. So is this a dream? Is it a dream within dream? Is it some kind of a time-traveling vortex that this theater has turned into? What is real and what is not? That is, I think, what this movie is supposed to be, because we have all of these very standard, mundane, classical horror trope nonsense things. I'm just gonna go and see what happens over there and look in this scary looking cupboard. Oh, there was a murder clown there who shot me down, or had an accident, cut my head off, or whatever it was. So, and these sequences are all sorts of bad because the movie is a very cheap, ugly looking and uninteresting mess with characters you don't care about. I will say that I was sort of kind of invested in what was going to happen to Aurora. She was a likable person, even though the acting was not good, if I am to be nice. But anyway, so we have all of these sequences with the murder clowns that shows up out of nowhere and then disappears, and it happens over and over again, and it is intercut with sequences where we see Eric Roberts, who plays James, sitting there, and he's talking about the ugliness of man and fear, and he's just droning on with his bullshit, and somehow, despite having maybe 3 or 4 minutes of screen time, still gets top billing. Oh dear, oh dear. But this all leads to the ending, which I can only describe as one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. Some of the most insanely stupid things I've ever seen, because it ties a little bit into what everybody is talking about all the time in this, and that is the revealing of the liar. What is the lie? Who lied? About what? And what has this to do with anything like that? Because there is some kind of interesting storytelling somewhere hidden here, but the problem is that these knuckleheads are amateurs at best or idiots at worst, and they are most definitely not Christopher Nolan, because this movie is all sorts of horrible. It is not scary, except I will say that the masks, because of the low production value, does have an ugly and unsettling look to them. They were at least a little bit scary, but all of the other things are so horrible. The gore is bad, the atmosphere is bad, the music is horrible, the setting is horrendously awful, and the acting is beyond bad. The lines that these people are trying to say with a straight face, I don't know if I'm to laugh at them or just shake my head and say, what have you done? It's not quite on the, the Room level or Birdemic levels of horrible dialogue, but it is not very far from it. So if you are up for a good and interesting and cool slasher, this is pretty much as far from it as you can come. If they just would have made a traditional bad, cheap slasher, maybe it could have worked, but they were trying to be a little bit too cute for this, with the, what is real and what is not, and the possibility of that, there is some kind of a time thing that we see stuff happening that has already happened, and we are in the future and stuff like that. And nothing makes any sense, and everything just seems so weird. And as I said, I think that the ending might be one of the worst endings I've ever seen to a horror movie. Not necessarily as a traditional, modern supernatural horror movie ending, which I absolutely hate. The movie technically does not have that. They had something that just might have been a little bit worse instead. I don't know really how to process this thing. I just want to say the following. Do not see this movie under any circumstances. It is a horrendously awful horror movie. It is a bad psychological thriller, and the rest of it just doesn't work. It is ugly looking, it is cheap looking, and it makes no sense. What is this? Even the short runtime of 70 or 71 minutes doesn't help this movie, because it's just so boring and it takes forever to get anywhere. Sweet Jesus, this movie. I was debating myself whether I would be nice to this movie and give it 3. But the more I thought about it, and the longer I was standing here and yapping along about this thing, I said to myself, nah, this movie, you have to give it a 2. This is one of the single worst horror movies I've ever seen in my life. The idea behind it is not technically bad and could have been turned into something, even with a low budget and bad acting. But What they did instead was so much worse. It's confusing, it makes no sense, it goes on forever despite being a very short movie, the acting is horrible, and just about everything else absolutely sucks. So I'll see you next time from, well, so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.